Knopf Hi friends, Darth Momo here, and today we're going to talk about The Simpsons because I have actually seen every single episode of The Simpsons, all 36 seasons now, and all the little Disney Plus shorts too. And it works out too because I'm actually recording this on Monday, September 29th, and just a few hours ago they announced that they're going to do a second Simpsons movie, which is perfect because of that whole intro that says, I will not wait 20 more years or 20 years to make another movie. And I think by the time it comes out, it's going to have like 4 days to spare before it would have hit that deadline. So that's perfect. That's not actually why I'm making this video though. I was waiting until I watched most of the show in 2021. I was just waiting until season 36 dropped on Disney Plus, which just happened yesterday, Sunday the 28th. I spent most of the day watching most of the episodes, and then I just finished the last of them today. So it's just a happy coincidence. But yeah, so I have watched every single episode of The Simpsons. I actually watched the first episode, part of it, the Simpsons roasting on an open fire, in like December of 2020. And then I decided, I had a couple other shows I was going to watch or something, so I waited until spring break of 2021, and then I went and started watching them all, and I finished about halfway through 2022, I think is when I finished, and then I've just been watching the new seasons as they drop on Disney Plus. So I just finished season 36, and then I've watched all the little Disney Plus shorts. I've seen the movie. The movie was actually the first full Simpsons thing I watched. I watched that in either 2017. No, I think it was 2017, yeah. Late 2017. So I've got to say, hands down, after having watched all The Simpsons, the movie, the 2007 movie, is without a doubt the best thing of The Simpsons. That's their magnum opus. That's peak Simpsons. The movie was phenomenal. I don't have a single critique for the movie. I thought that was fun. It was Simpsons, but they were firing on all cylinders with that one. A lot of what I've heard about The Simpsons is that most people seem to say it was good in the beginning, first few seasons or so, and then it kind of went downhill. I've had a couple people tell me, yeah, there was kind of a good sweet spot about the middle of the show, but the consensus seems to be that the last 10, 15 years of Simpsons has been pretty bland. And I have to say, watching it all together, back to back, it all kind of feels the same. Now, is it possible that it's just one of those cases of like, the frog in the boiling pot where you slowly turn it up and it doesn't notice until it's, it's dead, right? Is it possible that because I just watched it all in one go, I didn't notice a slow, gradual decline? It's possible. I mean, it's very possible that if I watched season 1 or season 2 again, I'd be like, wow, this was a lot better than, season 36 that I just watched. It's possible, but I haven't rewatched any of them. So I can't say that for sure. They all just kind of feel like the same to me. I kind of watched it because I had my younger brother, he was interested back in like 2016, 2017. He'd watch them from time to time. Maybe it was a little later, but he'd watch them from time to time. He'd put them on. He'd watch them out of order or whatnot, right? So I was like, should I watch it? Yeah, what the heck? That'd be kind of cool to say I watched all The Simpsons. And I watched it because, I started watching it when I was in college. It was very easy to, I was taking a couple classes. I was working full time. I also had a girlfriend too. So it was a nice show to be able to just put on when I had time to watch television, because it could be 2 days before I watched another episode. It could be 2 weeks. And that did happen. So it was nice to have The Simpsons because it wasn't like, oh, I got to see the next one. But, I had to wait 2 weeks until I could watch the following episode and pick up off a cliffhanger. The Simpsons was not serialized, which is something, I like serialized shows, but The Simpsons worked for the time for me. All in all, I'd probably give the show maybe, depending on the day, depending on the episode, maybe anywhere between a 6.5 to a 7. It kind of depends on the episode I just watched. The Simpsons overall, I mean, there's some really good bangers in there. There's some really low points in there. I think for one would be Treehouse of Horror. I know, like, I've got a buddy, he hates The Simpsons, but he loves the Treehouse of Horrors. Those are actually the ones that I just genuinely couldn't get into. Maybe there was 1 or 2 that I kind of liked, but overall, like, when it's the annual Treehouse of Horror episode, it's, Oh, great. Here we go. I think if I had to pick a favorite episode, obviously I already said the movie was my favorite thing, but if I had to pick a favorite episode, I would probably say Who Shot Mr. Burns. That was just a fun little, I think it's the only time Simpsons has actually done an actual cliffhanger. That's one that's always kind of stuck with me. Every now and then, and even in the newer seasons, there's episodes that I'll be like, oh, that was kind of good, or I like that one. I think just with this past one, this season 36, I enjoyed the Come All Ye Faithful, the Christmas one where Ned Flanders has kind of like a faith crisis. The opener that was supposed to be like a series finale with Conan O'Brien, that was kind of good. There was another one I just watched too. I don't remember what it was. The finale, this Itchy and Scratchy one, was okay. I didn't mind the what was it? I think it might have been the pool noodle one, maybe. It was either that one or it was the mafia one. I don't even remember. See, that's the thing with these, is it's like you could probably put one on for me. It would probably take me 10 minutes before I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of remember this, because there's been over 800 episodes. So it's like I just watched this whole season over the last 24 hours and I barely remember him. But you know what? Like there's been some good moments throughout. Like there's some that'll sit with me. I think my favorite, hands down, I'll say hands down favorite moment from the Simpsons show was the moment where it was like Bart was admiring Rainer Wolfcastle as a possible like father figure, and I think it was Rainer. It might have been someone else, but I'm pretty sure it was Rainer. So, and Rainer was like an actor or a stunt double or something. So then it just cuts to Homer just sitting in the bathtub, and then Bart just comes up to him with the chair and just whacks it on him and breaks the chair on him, and Homer's like, what was that? Like,
Ow! Oh! Ow! What the hell is wrong with you?
Gee, sorry. It's a pretty standard stunt, Homer.
oh, I died laughing. That was probably the biggest laugh the Simpsons ever got out of me, maybe except from the movie. And I probably rewinded that twice just to rewatch it again. That was the best moment. But there's plenty of them that sit with me, like, the Lego, when they did a Lego Simpsons segment or episode. I don't remember if it was a full episode or a segment. That was kind of cool. There was a moment where, like, I think it was like in their 20th season or 21st season, where it had Krusty. I think it was with either his daughter or a wife or something. I think it was the daughter. But, like, it kind of ends with him, like, making up with that person, and they're kind of floating down the river, and it has, like, a little thing go over the sky. It goes, thanks for 20 years. I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. What was another one? Oh, the intro in the episode after the movie. That was good. I love that intro. I mean, I just love the movie so much, so harkening back to that was kind of cool. Overall, I thought the jokes were more or less consistent. There was a lot of jokes early on that didn't land for me, and occasionally a good one that did. And I see that same trend from like season 3 all the way to now season 36. I have to say though, it's kind of interesting because when I would kind of catch a bit of the show or whatnot when my brother was watching it, I remember like sometimes I'd see the older intro or the older animation. I'd be like, oh, come on, get the newer stuff out here. Like, I hate the old stuff. But now, having started the show from episode 1 and gone to where I am now, it's like, oh, okay. Like, I actually really prefer the older animation. The older animation actually, I think, has much more character to it, much more passion in it. The newer animation, it just feels like basic. Like, just comparing the new and the old intro, like, okay, yeah, maybe, on a technical aspect, the new animation looks better, but, like, it's like devoid of character in a lot of the things that they do in the intro. I think my favorite moment from the intro, now that we're talking about the intro, I've always loved the moment where, like, Homer kind of, and I think it's not even in the older one. I think it's in the newer one, or it's not even in the newer one. I think it's only in the older one. I could be wrong. I don't even remember, because of course they quit playing the intros in the last few seasons. But it's where like Homer has the thing from the lab in his shirt. He like pulls it out and gives it just chucks it out the window. Classic Homer Simpson. I love it. Trying to think what else was there I wanted to say. There's a pattern or like a formula. I don't think it's every Simpsons episode, but I would probably say a good maybe 2/3 of them do this, where it's like the first minute or so has like almost nothing to do with the remainder of the episode. Like there was one I was just watching. It was about Homer with the chef. some like Guy Fieri lookalike comes around, and Homer's working with him to try to get him to like food and all that, and the plot has to do with him and Fat Tony and whatever. The episode starts out with like Bart mocking Lisa, and that's relevant for like 2 minutes or so, and then it dives into the whole actual plot of the episode. And I just think it's funny. Sometimes it serves as a setup, sometimes it's just completely irrelevant. So I just thought that was kind of interesting how I've noticed that as a recurring pattern with The Simpsons. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that or not. Let me know in the comments if you kind of see that too. It's not every episode, but a lot of them do that, which I don't necessarily mind it. It's sometimes I'll kind of roll my eyes, but overall, like, they're generally fun. I also kind of like to, we talked about the different animation styles. I like how sometimes they'll play like past clips, but they'll like, they'll keep that old animation style. They'll pull, instead of just like updating the clip or redoing it in the new animation style, they'll just pull a clip from like an old episode and shove it into the middle of the new one. Even if it's because, the old ones were done in the full screen aspect ratio and the new ones are done in the widescreen, but they'll interchange that, whatever. I think that's kind of interesting. I like things like that from a technical aspect, so I like that they kind of intermix that. One thing I've seen though that I kind of want to comment on, I see a lot of people talk about like, when will The Simpsons end? Will it ever end? And how should it end? First off, I think it should end. And actually, now that they've just announced the second movie, I think that would be awesome if that served as the end of the series. But I don't think that's going to happen because it's supposed to come out in 2027, and I think The Simpsons has been renewed up to season 40, and it's just now starting season 37, so that's 4 more years of Simpsons. I would love for The Simpsons to end. I think if I had to guess, it would probably take the death of a major cast member to maybe stop it, but who knows? Or maybe the death of Matt Groening, who knows, heaven forbid, not saying I want that to happen, but I'm thinking that might be the only thing that gets at the stuff. But how I think it should end, I don't necessarily have, my mind set on anything. I've heard the theory float around about the idea of ending with them going to the Christmas pageant or the Christmas party or whatever at the school, which is how the first episode starts off. So it would be like one continuous loop of Simpsons. Of course, the canon and the timeline and all that doesn't make sense in the show anyway, so why not? I think that would be perfect. But I don't have my heart set on that. I'm interested. I'm open to other ideas. I've seen some say, a focus on like some sort of theme or family or theme of family, since that's kind of the core of The Simpsons, would be a good way to go out. I think it was a YouTube channel, The Art of Storytelling, that talked about that. The way season 36 opened with that whole Bart's birthday episode, I thought that would, if that was an actual serious series finale, I thought that would work. Or heck, even just the way that episode was, that I think that would work as a series finale. I've heard Matt Groening though say that he thinks, I hope I'm saying his name right, but I've heard him suggest that the episode or the Simpsons should just end with just a regular ordinary episode. I don't like that. I think that would be kind of dumb. I mean, of course, it's his show. He could do with it as he wishes, but I think that would be kind of stupid. For such a show that's, held a place in culture for 40 years now almost, I think to just end like that would just feel almost like, unsatisfying. It would feel like unfinished business. So it's got to have some sort of ending. Overall, though, like I said, The Simpsons, I've seen them all. They're fun to just put on. Kind of just turn your brain off. I don't mean that insultingly, right? But just to kind of sit back and just watch some, casual television for a season or so every year as they drop on Disney Plus. I'm glad I did it. Like I said, it worked for me in the time where I was at with my life to just have a show like The Simpsons to watch. There were some points where I'd take it on a trip. Sometimes I'd build a Lego set while I was sitting there watching it. Overall, The Simpsons is, I like it. I can't say I love it, but overall I like it. It holds a special place in my heart. I'm ready for it to end. I hope it ends someday soon, but I love The Simpsons. I got their Lego sets. I've got the intro downloaded on my phone. The Simpsons movie is one of my, I love that movie. I don't know if I'd say it's one of my favorite movies, but I love that movie. It definitely left an impact with me. So I can't wait for the second movie. And I'll keep watching episodes as they come out. But, I thought it'd be unique to make a video like this to offer my perspective as one of the few people on the planet who probably, I shouldn't say few, there's probably a few thousand people that have, but as one of the few people on the planet, relatively speaking, that has probably actually sat down and watched the entirety of The Simpsons. So, let me know your thoughts on the channel, or let me know your thoughts on The Simpsons or the video, etc. in the comments. Like I said, I'd probably give it anywhere between a 6.5 to a 7, depending on the day. Thank you guys for joining in. Darth Momo out, and go!
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them delight.